what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, where David rocks for rock and roll thrive. Hey, everybody! Happy Tuesday! It is June 1st. Where the heck did May go? Where the heck did this year go, honestly? But enough with me having different gripes about the year. Let me tell you about this next guest I have in the podcast. This band does not believe in ghosts because their band's name is Don't Believe in Ghosts. Yes, they have more of this indie pop, indie rock, alternative rock fusion with some of that 80s synth style in there, which I know what you're thinking right now, Kevin, this necessarily isn't your style. Why are you doing this? Well, you guys remember I talked to Joey Arena and Justin DeBleek, formerly of Ice Nine Kills, about the Arena project and how awesome that was? Yeah, I want to dive into this as well because you never know. I want to expand my sound. I want to expand my reach. And maybe you guys are going to like some of this stuff. So why not check it out as well? The band has a brand new album called Solutions, which comes out on May 14th, 2021. So by the time you listen to this podcast, it is already out for you to check out. So you guys can go and check that out. Of course, link to me in the description below for you guys to check out everything from Don't Believe in Ghosts. And we talk all about the good stuff about this music. So please welcome Dan Delvecchio from the band Don't Believe in Ghosts. Are you guys ready? Because I sure am. Let's go. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. You guys know me with my hard rock, punk rock, metalcore kind of background. I like the harder stuff, but there's sometimes I like to dive into some of the stuff that's a little bit on the other side of the spectrum with rock and metal. This band comes to me from, I believe it's New York City. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Wanted to make sure on that one so I didn't mess up, but I should have asked earlier. So they have their brand new debut album coming out on May 14th. So by the time you're listening to this, the album will already be out for you to check out. It's called Solutions. The band is called Don't Believe in Ghosts, and we have Dan Delvecchio here with us in the podcast today. So Dan, I got to say, welcome to Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
How's everything going in your world today?
Pretty good. Keeping busy. There's a lot is coming in, as far as opportunities for us right now, even though we're kind of trapped in the confines of our, respective homes and stuff. So it's a kind of a weird time to be getting all this cool stuff, but and it hasn't really fully hit me yet because of it. But we're excited to get back out there once things open up and play some shows.
But one thing you have to remember, too, is the fact that things are starting to open back up again. So even though you might be confined to your home right now, it seems like there is that point in time where things are going to start happening. Because I know with New York, isn't there something where it's like sometime like middle of May, early June, where they're going to be fully open? I think. Was that the case?
The scoop that I got today actually was that a few days after actually our next show is like our first show that we're going to have since this pandemic started is going to be only a few days after they're opening everything up, and that's going to be sometime in September.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be like September 14th or something like that.
Okay, but I mean, one other thing we're seeing too is we're starting to see other shows start happening in different parts of the country. I mean, Florida pretty much is open 100%. Texas is. So We're seeing shows happening. They're seeing shows scheduled for there. And we're seeing bands coming out with different like tour dates. I know Beartooth just recently released a whole lineup for a tour. Blue Ridge, Rockfest, Incarceration. Rockfest here in Wisconsin is set to go on in July. I've seen some other smaller shows before that. So it seems like the second half of 2021 is really when things are going to get back to full swing again, which is like, woo!
Yeah, we can't wait. We've been dying to like get out there. We're actually getting together in a few weeks for the first time as a full band to like rehearse these songs.
First time since the pandemic started?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, we've gotten together a few times since to write music and to like prepare for the release and all the virtual stuff. And actually, now that I think about it, I did forget about us getting away. We went away to like the lake house. We rented out a lake house that we kind of used as a retreat to write music, and then we also held like a live stream show. So if you count that, then we did get together. But other than that.
I will count that because you guys got together, you played music, but also you got to get together, hang out, and just kind of be as a part of a band once again, even if it was like, you guys are writing again, you're just hanging out, doing a live stream show. I have talked to some bands that have been doing that during the pandemic, not only during the pandemic, but even beforehand when it came to writing music, where all the guys or all the girls in the band would literally just sit in a house together. They'd rent a house in the middle of nowhere and just work.
Yeah, we get a bunch of steaks and stuff. We get burgers, and it's just like we have the time of our lives, but it's also just it's super productive. We wrote a couple of songs. We set up the whole, spent a day setting up the whole room and the sound so that it can go direct into a Zoom session and broadcast that to YouTube Live and Facebook Live and all that stuff. And we had had a lot of people show up. It was great.
That's a great thing to hear. And I know a lot of bands have been having trouble with certain live stream shows as well, just because of the fact that streaming it, whether with the video and the audio as well, wanting to make sure that everything is prepared perfectly and not give the fans like a subpar performance. It does take a lot of time. So the fact that you guys were able to get a house together and work on a whole entire day just to put the room together and put everything in place so that you were able to give the fans a maximum effort and performance and maximum quality is a big thing.
Yeah, no, it definitely took a full day. And of course, like testing it, we had to like, with a couple of different laptops, go from a different room and then test the audio and just to see if it came out good. And we were pretty happy with the end result.
It's good to hear. And it's also good to hear that a good amount of people showed up to that as well.
Yeah.
So, people are dying.
I think people are starving. Yeah, people are starving to get out there. And we were saying earlier today in our, when we were on the radio earlier with Steve, we were saying that a lot of people, I think, are just kind of like they're itching to get back. And whereas maybe even before the pandemic, a lot of people didn't really appreciate as much like up and coming bands and their local scene or whatever it is. And I think that, or we're hoping that people will find a new appreciation for that once things are fully open again and they can get out there and do it.
I've been pushing that hard, especially on the podcast as well, because a lot of the bands that I've talked to are those bands that are really working to get up and coming in the scene today. And these bands could be the biggest bands by the end of the decade. And all the bands that are the big bands now, I mean, they were up and coming bands at one point too. So why not get in on them now? Plus, the other thing is there's going to be times where, of course, you're going to want to see one of the bigger bands that you absolutely love. However, the chance that they're going to end up coming into an area close to you to travel to, I mean, you might get a chance to see them once a year. And that ticket might be, especially after the pandemic is kind of coming to close, rather expensive because the bands are trying to make money again. The venues are trying to make money again. The insurance to put these tours together is going to be rather high. So the price is going to be rather high for tickets in the end. So what would you rather do? Would you rather spend like $100 to see one band, or would you rather spend $100 to see 10 bands at a more local, more regional level at $10 a piece? And then you never know, you might find a band that you absolutely fall in love with, or you might find a band that has a different sound than what you're used to, but you find it interesting in a way, and all of a sudden you start expanding your musical horizons that way.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of great bands to see, different genres and everything. So I encourage people to get out there and just support their local scene,
Oh, absolutely, because also the venues that would support the local scene as well, they've been dying over the past couple of almost year and a half at this point, due to the fact that, again, the pandemic hit. They didn't get much help from the federal government with certain grants or anything. I mean, the Save Our Stage Act went into effect in December of 2020, when these were the venues that were the first to close and are going to be the last to reopen. So
a couple of the best spots by me closed down during this thing. And, I don't know if they're coming back. They might reopen somewhere else, but it was really depressing just hearing like one by one some of your favorite places, some of my favorite places to go, just closing down.
It was the same way here. I was just consistently open, like, okay, there's two spots that I absolutely love here in Milwaukee. Please, 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 whatever happens to these, do not shut down. And one, I haven't heard really anything from. I think they're still rolling because they were also a bar at the same time as well. So it's like, okay, once bars were able to reopen here in Wisconsin, like middle of May in 2020, like they're able to get some sort of income coming in. But then the other one, they were just basically for live shows, so they couldn't really have anything going on. But they're a lot bigger. They're owned by a bigger corporation, so there's definitely some things that they could have done. They end up selling they end up auctioning off a bunch of their posters, a bunch of their like merch that they got from bands that had passed through. So you could bid on that, and the venue get money. They also put a huge haunted house together because the venue is haunted. So
that's awesome.
The day before Halloween, I end up walking through there with all the lights off with just a flashlight. My whole entire goal was, and everyone pretty much knows this, find the haunted pool.
Yeah. I played a long time ago. I played with one of my older bands. I played a venue that was supposed to be haunted as well. I think it was called the Palace Theater in somewhere in Pennsylvania. I'm forgetting the name of the town, but it was called the Palace Theater. And I just remember I didn't personally see anything, with my own eyes, but a couple of people I was with said that they saw some weird things there. And apparently the venue had been around since the 1800s too. So it had some cool vibes about it, especially if you're into that sort of thing. I feel like you'd have you might have a field day with it.
I would, just because I'm not all into like the horror thing or all like the paranormal gothic kind of stuff, but especially with all the music I listen to, I love going to venues that have that rich history. Because like when they did the haunted house thing here at the Rave in Milwaukee, it was there over the course of the time that's been open, 2 people have died in there. One kid drowned in the pool, and a janitor died somewhere, and apparently you still see their ghosts and like spirits around all the time. And my whole entire goal was when I went to walk through, I'm like, I have to find the haunted pool. I have to find a way to get in there. And towards the end of the tour, I'm like, okay, I'm at the basement stage. I'm like, I've seen many bands at the basement stage. And I started to walk behind the stage and walk around. I'm like, ooh, there's stairs. Ooh, a door. Ooh, it's open. And I opened up and all of a sudden, boom, there's the pool. And I was just, yay!
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people followed me and they were like, kind of like freaked out. Like, what's going on here? Why is there all this smoke at the bottom of the pool? Why is there a red balloon over the pool grate? And I'm like, hey, that's a Pennywise kind of thing. And everyone's kind of freaking out over the aesthetic. And I've got this flashlight all over the wall because every single band that has been through there has signed signed the room, like the walls in the pool room.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find different bands that I've seen and different like shows that I was having. Like, is it there? Is there? Nope. And
I love stuff like that.
I only found 2 bands I signed with shows that I'd been to. And one was a Hollywood Undead show in 2017. And the other one, it took me forever to find it, but it was like the biggest signature of them all was Ice Nine Kills from 2019. I was wearing an Ice Nine Kills shirt when I went there too. I'm like, so I told the girl I went with, I'm like, hey, take a picture of me right next to you. I just went like this. I was like, I was having too much fun with it, but yeah, it was anything I could do kind of just to support any kind of local acts, local bands, support local venues as well. During the pandemic, I was going to make sure it happened. I talked about it a good amount because once concerts came back, I mean, there was going to be a high demand for bands to get out, both local, regional, national, international. And for fans as well, there's going to be a huge demand for them to go and see those shows. So I want to see as many venues open as possible to support this.
Definitely.
Well, Dan, also, even though we're about like 10 minutes into this already, one thing I always like to do on this podcast to actually start off with, even though this isn't kind of necessarily the start anymore, is to have you introduce yourself by answering 3 very specific questions, with 2 being very easy, very nice. You'll answer them rather well. The third one, though, kind of puts you on the spot in the most fun way. 1, what is your name? 2, when it comes to Don't Believe in Ghosts, what do you do in the band? And 3, I want to know a little fun fact or a little fun, wacky story about yourself that will hopefully make me fall out of my chair laughing, because it has happened before. I have heard wacky stories about the bassist from Hinder lighting his balls on fire. I've heard stories about band members chloroforming other band members, taking them to a random beach in Florida, burying them halfway in the sand, and then splurting ketchup all over the place to make it look like their leg got cut off by a shark.
Oh, so the pranks, tour pranks is what you want.
Tour pranks or anything hilarious, because I've heard some other really wacky stories as well that don't pertain to like tour stories, but I've heard some crazy ones. I always like to see what people come up with. So, Dan, you're on the spot right now.
My name is Dan Del Vecchio, if you want the full name. I play guitar, and I'm one of the core songwriters in the band as well. And as far as, the band has actually, we've only been on the road together once for one tour, and we're hoping that this is the beginning of many more. So, I don't know if we have anything terribly crazy, but I, for one, am somebody who I'm kind of a klutz, when it comes to things. And actually, almost 2 bands that I've been in have coined me the name Mr. Bean, just because of like my spastic tendencies, and like walking into we were walking into an elevator, and I must have tried to walk into this elevator maybe 3 or 4 times, not realizing that I was holding like a guitar case, like that was longer than the width of the elevator into the, it was blocking me, from getting into the elevator. It kept running into the wall, and maybe it happened 3 or 4 times before they just started calling me Mr. Bean. That was one. So
what that reminds me of is like that SpongeBob episode where they're trying to rebuild SpongeBob's house, and Patrick has the wooden plank nailed into his head. He's trying to walk into the hat shop, and he keeps like bouncing up against the door frame because he can't get in. And he just keeps doing it. But of course, so Mr. Bean might be an accurate way to describe you, or Patrick Star, one of the 2.
Yeah. Steve, on the other hand, he does like to play pranks on people. I remember, we were in a hotel room, and the other 2 guys were in a room adjacent to us. So he wanted to play a prank on the other room by having somebody knock on their door at 5 o'clock in the morning, for pancakes, to order like pancakes and like breakfast and all that stuff. And, he just, when we were, it was a night of drinking one night, and he just thought it was the funniest thing in the world, like calling the front desk and saying, like, don't take no for an answer, open that door, wake them up early, and and it was one of those you kind of like you had to be there moments just because of literally his reaction, and his, he was losing it on the phone trying to tell them to like wake them up at like 5 a.m. and to knock really loud, and so it was one of those you had to be there moments, because when he drinks a little bit and he gets silly, it's really funny. It's a good time.
I'll say it seems like he kind of takes that. If you watch the Dirt movie about Motley Crue, he kind of takes some of that in a little bit, but not.
I mean,
like,
they put anybody to shame. Like, I mean, we seem like the most boring people ever compared to that band, but yeah.
Compared to just like throwing random stuff outside of windows, like, oh, sorry, man, it slipped. I don't know what happened, and then just throwing.
No, we're not at the we haven't gotten to a stage where we're trashing hotel rooms or lighting shit on fire, or well, we like to chill and like drink some beers and smoke a cigar and have do a bro moment in a hot tub, no funny stuff, just guys hanging out.
Just guys hanging out, all of a sudden just start roasting each other, see what happens, and then everyone's laughing, everyone's getting ripped on.
And some light pranks, nothing crazy, but then again, we also haven't been on the road for more than like a few weeks at a time yet, so we're we'll see. I'm sure we're going to have way more stories once we really get moving. We just got signed, and we're putting our album out in a few weeks. Or maybe by the time this is released, it'll already be out. And shortly thereafter, especially now that the world's opening up, we're gonna probably be on a tour pretty soon. So at a much bigger scale, we're hoping.
I mean, hopefully so, especially given the fact that you guys, the style of music you guys play has more that like indie rock style, more that alternative rock style. So that's what I kind of got out of it. When I see your face like, not really. So am I wrong on that?
I would say like indie rock, indie alternative, or alternative pop. Any one of those would work.
Okay, because I'm just, again, like I said at the beginning of this, like, I know normally this isn't my forte, but then again, I'm wearing a 30 Seconds of Mars shirt at the moment, so it kind of makes sense a little bit. However, taking a look at some of the bands that kind of, I think like you guys could definitely get like on a potential tour with, that would definitely fit. I mean, you never know. All of a sudden, what happens if all of a sudden you get on tour with like a Walk the Moon or a Young the Giant, 30 Seconds to Mars potentially. Right. You never know what might happen. All of a sudden, I mean, imagine getting on a tour like a national tour like 30 Seconds to Mars. That could be like a 3 month long run just on its own.
Right. And, people get bored and they do stuff to keep themselves entertained. So, sometimes at other people's expense. So I'm sure there will be probably multiple pranks on the account of Steve.
I mean, after hearing that, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens just because you guys haven't been on the road for a while at this point. It's, of course, because of the pandemic, but what kind of things been happening in that guy's head to plan for something like this? He might have some things already in the works in his mind, like we just have to wait for.
Well, he's actually told me. I mean, he's told me things on the phone, like he said we should do a music video where, I mean, I was completely joking. I think when he told me, he said we should do a music video where we bring the 2 other guys out to the woods and we give them hallucinogenics and take their clothes away or something, and then just film and see them just struggle and try to find their way through the woods and see what happens. These are the kinds of things that he thinks of.
I can see that being like a half joke, half serious thing too, because I have had ideas similar to that, but like not necessarily in the music sense. Like, people having bachelor parties, because a lot of my friends are like getting engaged and getting married at this point. So of course, bachelor parties are going to be a thing. Like in the beginning, the guy was going to be the bachelor, so damn drunk, and then all of a sudden end up dropping him off in Indiana without any clothes and just seeing what happens. Yeah. See how he gets home. It's like,
pretty much, we'll document it and see, and then that would be the music video. He just loves like coming up with hypotheticals like that.
But then again, it keeps the creative juices flowing, and you never know what might happen where he might get some just really wacky, crazy idea for a potential music video, for a potential project, for something on a live setting, and you're thinking, that might not work in that instance, but you might get like a spark of an idea to build onto something where all of a sudden it's like, okay, that hallucinogenic thing with the music video where it's like you give the other 2 guys hallucinogenics, take their clothes, just see
maybe
what
not
happens.
Literally, but we could like, he's the mastermind pretty much behind the visions of the music videos. A lot of the times I always say to people that he'll have like some weird dream, and I always I don't know if you'll get this reference, but I always reference like Wayne's World 2 when the guy has the dream about the half-naked Indian and Jim Morrison, and he starts talking about it and everybody thinks he's crazy. That's pretty much Steve. Like he said, this like before we did the Don't Wake Me Up video, he's like, dude, Gilbert Gottfried came to me in my dream. He's got to be in the music video, man. Like we got to put him in the music video. and he found a way to do it, man.
Wait,
He
what?
found a way to make that happen. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you've seen the music video, but Gilbert Godfrey, from his own home, it was kind of like a remote thing, but we were able to get him to kind of introduce the music video.
Oh my god, I missed the music
So
video. I went through pretty much when I was going through this. Like I did a deep dive into "Put Your Head Back" because I really wanted to just get to know the sound, and of course with that
yeah,
being the
yeah,
most recent song that was out, I listened to it, really did a deep analyzation of it on my end. I didn't check out the music video though because of the fact that with the podcast, I had like a lot of others I had to prepare for at the same time as well. So I have to kind of disperse my time
yeah.
in certain areas. So I missed that. That's why I kind of was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Because of course it's Gilbert Godfrey. And you got the like that unique voice. Just what are you talking about? Okay, I feel like the worst impersonation ever of Gilbert Godfrey. But you know what? You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was a trip hearing him say like our band name, and his unforgettable voice. So
Because
it's
every time
pretty
I think
cool.
of Gilbert Godfrey now, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you like he was the Affleck duck in his unique voice." I'm like, I still remember the YouTube video of him reading parts of 50 Shades of Grey in a like
Yes.
audiobook style, and that was just
Yeah.
oh my god. So it's just the fact that you guys got Gilbert Godfrey on that is absolutely incredible. And the fact that Steve had that vision of like, we just need to do this, and then somehow it just happened. But I know you guys
Yeah.
had to have worked to make that happen as well.
Yeah, and we just kind of like he has an idea, and we just kind of like we show up and we trust him. We're just like, yeah, man, you're the dude. Like, sometimes I'll have like a little a bit of an idea that I throw in there, like a little bit of a thing where I can interject and say my piece about like a little idea in the video. But for the most part, he comes up with the idea. Not that he has to, but he does, and he's good at it, and we trust him.
And that's a
That's just
big
how it
key
works.
is the trust that you have as a band where he's going to have these wacky ideas, but just to roll with them and have the trust that it might not be the best idea as he put it out right then and there, but there might be something there that you guys can build upon and just work in that idea and really
Right.
grow it.
And almost every time he says something, I'm like, that's awesome, but how the hell are you going to do that? He always finds a way to do it. He wears a lot of different hats, and I think in today's world, it's a very much a DIY world where you have to be able to do more than just simply play an instrument or just write music. You have to know how to market yourself. You have to have creative visions. You have to know a little bit about art, and just the more things that you're able to do, the better chance you have, I think.
I think so too, because you're able to put your own personal touch on it in every step of the way, especially as an artist and especially as a musician. Because take a look back before, I'll just say back like early 2000s and beforehand, where a lot of the bands, it was the bands that had more of that creative vision, it had more of their hands in everything, seemed like they were the more prominent ones, and the ones that kind of were just, we're going to be focused on the music, and then other people are going to take care of the other things. Yeah, they were good bands, don't get me wrong, but they also seemed rather by the numbers. Now in today's world, with how much there is on social media, how much music is out there, and how much competitive space is out there in order just to get your sound
Right.
heard, no matter what style of music you play, you have to be able to do something like that. A great example of that on another aspect is Diamante, because she released her album, or second album, American Dream, independently, and also was working on the marketing for it while she was in college getting a business degree for all this stuff. So she was literally putting
Wow.
her degree and learning about this stuff while promoting her album and putting all this stuff out in real time. So
It
you
makes
kind of
sense.
see where all those different hats and really have your hand in everything really comes to the forefront. So I totally agree with you on that. And again, having Steven be able to do something like that, where again, getting like Gilbert Godfrey just to introduce your music video, that's going to
Yeah.
that's something that, you never think of, but you're able to pull it off and just make it happen.
Right. Yeah, he's not afraid to just go for it. He's not afraid to think big and go for it. I think that's great. In addition to the videos too, where we're self-produced too. And every once in a while, like this, for instance, Put Your Head Back. We went to Mark Needham to mix the track, and he's done some incredible things with the Killers and Imagine Dragons, among a bunch of other artists. But for the most part, the rest of the entire album is self-produced and self-mixed and everything.
Now you got to ask, how'd you get Mark Needham to produce this track?
I think it was a couple of. Steve would probably be able to give you a more detailed explanation, but I just know that it was through a couple of connections of his, and it wasn't necessarily cheap, but I think he had somewhat of a relationship with him in the past, maybe with his previous projects, and worked alongside him, maybe with a couple of other bands too, and yeah, he reached out to him, and he gave us a price, and we just did it. And when we got it back, he gave us two different versions, both which were equally awesome, and we kind of went back and forth between the two as far as which one we liked, and we liked the second version, but the other version was just as good. There was no wrong version. It was definitely an upgrade, to what we wanted. And I think it also kind of set the precedent of how we wanted the rest of the album to be mixed, so that it sounded very uniform. And I think we learned a lot about it too, and with mixing.
And
So,
also, you have that other like style of recording on put your head back. You have that other mix on there as well, where at some point in time you can always release that as a potential remix of the song and just be like, okay,
a couple of people have been asking us about that, and we haven't like thought about that, but maybe we will.
I mean, because I have heard other bands doing something like that, and I remember this was back in was that 2018 or 2019 when it happened? I think it might have been. No, it was 2018 because I was at I did the Camp Mars thing with 30 Seconds of Mars out in Malibu, and for one of the like activities that we had, what was with Jared Leto was, okay, you can either watch the like this film that they're gonna put out, this documentary they're gonna put out like 3 months after it early, or you can hear some unreleased music and some earlier recordings of certain things. I'm like, I want the earlier recordings one because that one just sounds a lot cooler. And it was just, okay, here's some certain songs that were on their last album, America, or on their Love, Lust, Faith, and Dreams album that were actually written and produced for other albums like This Is War and A Beautiful. I'm like, oh shit, I want to listen to this because those are my favorite albums of the band. Like, okay, I want to see what you guys were thinking about with this stuff. And just hearing like the different way that these songs are put out there. It's just this, it's the same song, it's the same lyrical content, but the mix is different. So you're getting a completely different emotional connection, a completely different feel to the track as well. So you never know if in a couple of years, you guys might put out the other mix to Put Your Head Back and people might connect it in a completely different way and also feel that same emotional impact they did on the first time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was always my favorite thing to listen to like earlier versions of songs from my favorite bands if they're like released, and it's just a cool look into the creative process of like what they were thinking, when they were writing a song, and it's just a really cool thing because then I kind of relate it to my process too, and say, okay, it's so that's what they were thinking. You kind of, once you start like writing long enough, and I guess you're doing it long enough, you start to realize a lot of people think the same too, in terms of like how to develop a song. So it's a cool thing to see, that you could see that your artists who you kind of worship, you can see that they're human too. They make mistakes. Sometimes their earlier versions aren't the best, and you're like, okay, I can see why they didn't go with that.
Yeah, it gives a more personal connection between you and the artist as well. But on top of that, it allows you to see, like you said, that these artists are kind of like you in the same way, where your process of writing these songs and really working might be rather similar, but then there's always going to be different subtle nuances that are going to be completely different because you might be working with a different style of music. You might be working on a different type of song as well, where with a song that they were working on that you were listening to, that you heard the different versions of, might have a faster pace, might have a more melodic pace, might be more of a ballad style, while you're working on something that's completely different. However, you're able to see the parallels and kind of reverse engineer in a way and see where you guys are similar and where you're different.
Yeah, I remember actually listening to it was like an old like Michael Jackson studio thing where he was just kind of like riffing and like not he was singing and just random words and like not even like putting together a sentence really, but he was just kind of like just a stream of consciousness singing. And that's exactly, not that I'm comparing him at all to Steve, but it's just the same. It's the same method that a lot of singers do, like when they're trying to think of melodies or lyrics or something. And it was just really cool to see like Michael Jackson doing that process, or like to listen to what that sounded like. To me, I mean, anything he did, like you could have put it on recording and it probably would have sold anyway because it's amazing. But yeah, it's just cool to see like that very raw beginning stages of the process.
And that's something I've seen from other artists as well. Take a look at Tim McElrath from Rise Against. I've seen where they're writing songs where he won't even have the lyrics down while they're writing the instrumentals. What he'll do first is he'll kind of like just like sing random noises and random moans and groans and whatnot. And it's just all gibberish. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to figure out how he wants the song to sound when he sings it in terms of different pitches, in terms of different lengths, different melodies, different rhythms that he wants to kind of like work with in tune there. And just really construct the song there and then understand where the song is going, how to emotionally impact the song the best with his vocals, and then write the poetry of the lyrics afterwards.
Right. And it's the stuff that I guess like no one is supposed to see. But like as somebody who's also like, a writer and a creator, and it's a really fascinating thing for me to see, especially when it's like an artist I admire,
Yeah, and again, it allows you to connect with the artist a little bit more closely as well. And you get to get a little bit more in-depth look at them in terms of, say they're writing about something that's a rather personal at that point as well, and you're seeing the different like the different mixes on those songs, like an earlier version of it, to see, okay, why did they go with the earlier version over this one? And you're seeing the early version, maybe it was something where the sound might have been right, but just the way it was mixed and the way it was presented, it might not have had that raw emotional power, or just the way it was mixed. It didn't necessarily tell the story of that emotional transition, whatever they were trying to go through. But then the newer, the fully produced mix, the one that got released, accurately did that. So you can see kind of the building blocks of that as well. You can understand to see where, as an artist, when other bands are writing songs that might be more personal to them, and you're writing about stuff that's more personal to you, just seeing what that process like to make sure that the overall sound amplifies what you're trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, look at me go with some of this stuff. I talk about this stuff all the time too, so I've kind of seen some of this stuff as well, even though I have never written a song in my entire life. And I can't really speak to the songwriting process because, again, I've never done that. I have had one band tell me I should write a song, but all I got was just the bleh going to the breakdown, and that was it.
Yeah. You gotta
and I'm sticking to it.
You gotta have it.
So I gotta ask, when it comes to Solutions, of course, the album that comes out on May 14th, 2021, but most likely this podcast will be out by the time that has passed, so you guys can stream it right now if you want. Listen to it. Actually,
yes.
Don't just stream it. Go buy a copy of it and go download it and buy it, because that helps out a lot more than you would think.
Yeah, I don't know if, who, depending on who you are listening to this, I don't know if you're familiar with how CDs work, but, we do have the physical CDs, and but you could also download the digital version. And I believe that, I guess this isn't for the people. This is really a message for the people before the record's release. Again, if it's out right now, then we probably already declared a winner. But the pre-orders, if you pre-order the record, you're entered to win a Fender Telecaster guitar. And, probably it's going to be signed by all of us. And we have like a custom design, for it. And it's actually being put on it right now. And within the next few days, we're probably going to be posting about it and showing what it actually looks like. So, maybe by now there's a winner chosen already, and I'm saying this for nothing, but it's a cool thing. I'm sure we'll have more contests like that in the future, though.
Well, not necessarily saying it for nothing, Dan, because what I'm going to ask you to do before we jump into Solutions a little bit more, and before we jump into put your head back as well, is when you have that design created and when you're about to release it, or when you do release it, please let me know, because then I will make a post about it so that people can also get in on the content as well.
We actually already do have like a mock-up design that you can check out like on our social media, any one of the things that we post on. And, we posted a couple of things about it, but I don't have the actual picture yet. But it's a mock-up design of what it's going to look like.
Okay, then I'll just find the mock-up design. I'll post something like that. I'll post something the week running up to it, probably Monday, just so that and more people can get to know about it. And I'll be like, hey, they're going to be in the podcast some point in the not too distant future. I'll say in the future. No, we'll go with the not too distant future, because it will be in a little bit afterwards. But then it will allow people to get that pre-save in order to get that guitar, potentially.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But then, of course, I mean, there's going to be physical CDs out there. You can download it on iTunes or wherever you can download music and probably pay for it, because I think I saw something today where it was like, if you like Bandcamp Fridays, whenever they have like the day where it's like, if you go to Bandcamp and you download and you like pre-order an album or download an album and buy it, 100% of the proceeds go to the band, and it's the equivalent of streaming their music every single day for 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Again, I can't necessarily attest to that, but I mean, I know that if you
it doesn't like when you tell me that, I don't say, oh, that's impossible, that can't, it's probably right. Well, it's probably right. I know that even some of the biggest songs out there, the people that write them, the writers, they don't get as much as you would think for Spotify streams.
So like even with myself, there's stuff that I get where it's like, oh yeah, I'd love to just like get these stuff and just, stream them. I still download everything because of how much I work with it, but also I want to support these artists as well. Even if it's like sometimes even artists will send me like the full downloads of it. I'm like, well, I already pre-ordered the album, so thanks. I just got it early, but I'm not going to cancel that pre-order. I mean, I'm already paying for it. I'm not going to not pay for it.
Right.
Just keep that train rolling. And make sure that we support our artists, because this is why we should continue to support artists and make sure that like, because again, with streaming, I know it's convenient, I know it's easy, but if there's a way that you can support them, if a new album comes out, buy a CD. If they press vinyl, buy one of the vinyls. So I do that a good amount, and I got a nice little vinyl collection going myself. But what it helps out is just gets the artist, it helps the artist out more than streaming would.
Yes. Now I can't speak for every single one of the CDs that are pre-ordered, but I know that a pretty good number of them are all signed, by all of us. So I think we are offering sort of a reward in that way to those who, pre-ordered the first several, maybe the first 100 copies or something like that. Maybe Steve knows the exact number, but I couldn't tell you. But I know that I spent a lot of time signing a lot of CDs. So the first bunch that are pre-ordered are gonna have that on it.
Say, please don't tell me you got carpal tunnel from writing all those signatures. It's like, shit,
it hurt after a little while.
It's a little bit of cramping. But again, like I was talking about with, supporting artists as well, again, going to live shows, buying a t-shirt at a live show, buying a t-shirt online, buying some merches, because it helps support them. Because I think it's one of the best quotes I ever heard was, art decorates space, music decorates time. And it's, imagine what our lives would be like without music. Imagine how much music has gotten us through this pandemic, how much music has gotten through us in different points of our lives, how much these different artists have gotten through, help us get through different points in our lives. And in order to make sure that we're able to continue to make this great music that we're going to love, be able to connect us in that kind of way, there's so many different ways you can support them. And yes, I do understand that streaming their music is easy, but just do a little extra. There's always room to do just a little extra.
Definitely. And we try, in the band, we try as much as possible to offer some kind of incentive and a reward to doing that, to pre-ordering and supporting the band. We give away a lot of prizes. We have a lot of giveaways. So, if you miss this one, we're going to have another one.
I mean, that's just marketing 101 right there, where it's, you're giving an incentive for the fans to get some merch, maybe get the CD,
just so just to give you an idea, we gave away an Oculus headset, VR headset. What else did we do? We gave away we have a ton of guitar picks. For some reason, a lot of people, they go crazy for those guitar picks. And we gave away a ton of those. We're doing the guitar now, and there's probably other ones that I haven't thought of, but we try to do something new and cool each time, something that we didn't do before.
I've actually thought about doing like guitar picks with my logo on. Be like, it just gives up. But then again, I don't play guitar, so it'd be kind of.
Do you play
weird.
Anything at all, or?
I drummed when I was a kid, but I gave it up at the age of 14 because it was okay. I can either drum or I can play soccer. I can try and do both. And I was like, I'm going to play soccer because I'm a 14-year-old boy and I just want to go and just have fun and play sports with my friends. As I look back at it, did I make the right choice? I'm going to say 50% I made the right choice, because I'm glad I stuck with soccer because I still love playing the game. But I wish I would have kept drumming at the same time as well.
Yeah.
But then again,
everyone has different reasons, I guess, for getting into it in the beginning. A lot of times, they just think it's just for the chicks, But other than that, I started playing when I was 8 years old, so it wasn't about that for me. It was more just, I don't know. I think it was really just, weirdly enough, it was the Beatles. They were the first band, I guess, ever, pretty much, and I guess it was appropriate. They were the band that that wanted me to maybe want to play a guitar.
Interesting, because I'm trying to even think, like, if I had a band that, I mean, for me, if it was picking bands that inspired me to like play the drums as a kid, it was definitely more of those 80s rock bands that my dad was listening to. So a lot of. I mean,
I went through a bunch of phases. I went through that. I went through pretty much every decade as a phase. The 70s and then the 80s. A little bit of the 90s, but then I went through a big metal phase as well.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a thing where, you're able to look back on, is there different things that you listen to in those genres that you were inspired by, that you really went through those phases. So when it comes to writing music with Don't Believe in Ghosts, there are times where you can potentially pull out certain things that you've listened to and heard in those different genres, in those different eras, and tweak them and put them into your style of music. So it's okay. You have this little bit, maybe of this 80s flair, maybe a little 70s flair here, maybe a little 90s
Definitely
flair
a lot of
with your
80s in our music. I feel like, a lot of, like, with the synthesizers and everything like that, we like that kind of retro sound made modern, and, like I said, I grew up listening to a lot of like virtuoso guitar players. And I've always been wondering, like, how do I merge these two worlds? How do I kind of incorporate that kind of guitar playing into into this band, into like an alternative indie pop band. And so far we haven't released anything that has anything like that. But I think for the first time a couple of nights ago, I managed to slip a pretty cool guitar solo into one of our songs, and now I can't wait to release it. But it's probably going to be like we sit on stuff sometimes for a year before we actually get to release it to the public. So hopefully it won't be a year, but we have a new single that we're working on that we're really excited about. I don't even think any of us have talked about it yet, but because it's literally just happening right now. But yeah, I'm really excited to eventually. Everyone's always excited about their new stuff, but this right here, I feel like I was kind of able to merge those two worlds, and I'm excited for whenever we release it.
And not only that, but you have Solutions coming out on May 14th, which of course by the time this podcast come out, will most likely already be out. But then you're already teasing stuff to come after as well. So it's just you're keeping the idea of Don't Believe in Ghosts and keeping the idea of your music in the minds of fans, in the minds of people. Because if you take a look at, again, I'm going to use streaming as the example. The way it works is if you're consistently putting on music, especially with the way playlists work, curated playlists, whatever it might be, you're going to end up popping up on other things on, okay, I'm going to pop on this place on this suggested thing, because there's new stuff coming into the fold. So it does work out in that way, even after releasing your debut album.
Totally. I mean, we sat on, the stuff that's in Solutions, we probably sat on that for over a year. This is the stuff that we were like dying to get out there. And, we had to wait a while. And then now this stuff that we were writing, like I told you in the Lake House, that was a few months ago, that's going to be on the next batch of songs that we start to roll out. So, it's good to be ahead of the game, but it also makes you antsy because every artist feels like they're sitting on their best stuff, to put out. But it keeps it exciting, and it keeps us, wanting to write.
One thing I will also say is kind of like a little bit more of it seems like weird to say a little bit of advice thing, but don't just, always look forward to like your next stuff that you're working on, because with Solutions coming out, again, it's going to be your debut LP.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the fact that you've got something releasing, and then of course live shows are coming back, so you can be able to play this stuff live in front of people.
Totally.
But also remember that you guys still got stuff on the back burner too that's ready to come off at some point and just be shown to the people.
Yes, no, 100%. So, yeah, a lot of these songs, that are on the LP were released as singles, but we have some new tracks that people haven't heard before either. And one reflects, kind of a little bit of what Steve had gone through with the pandemic. He lost his brother, very early on when this thing started. And one of the songs is dedicated to him. So there's definitely some stuff that'll hit you in the feels.
That was actually my next question in terms of Solutions. Was this all written before the pandemic or during the pandemic at the same time? Because I know you said you've been sitting on this for like a year. So was it kind of a mix of the two? And of course, with that song being dedicated to Steve's brother as well. So we definitely know that there was some stuff that was written during this time.
Yes. It's a little bit of both. Maybe about half the record was written beforehand. Living Like This is a song that, we made a music video, and in the middle of working on the music video and editing it is when the pandemic started. So we actually were able to kind of like incorporate a few things into that video that would apply to the relevant times, with what everyone was going through, with the pandemic. So there's a few things that we kind of were able to sneak through in there, and it just kind of bridged together any little gaps it had, and it all somehow made sense perfectly, and most people wouldn't think that. Then, the song that I'm talking about that's dedicated to Steve's brother, that was written a few months in. It was kind of a last-minute addition that Steve brought the idea to me, and I, added a little bit of a bridge to it. And, it's a simple song, straight to the point, pretty much. And, I want people to hear it, and hopefully they'll be able to connect with it in some way, too.
That's probably going to be the song I'd be most interested in listening to. And the reason for that is because if it was written towards the beginning of the pandemic, right after Steve had unfortunately lost his brother, we're going to see a lot of that raw emotion, a lot of that kind of grief processing really come out in this song. And for anyone that lost anyone during the pandemic, or anyone that's lost someone close to them in general, you're going to get to really get into like what Steve went through. You're going to be able to really feel the emotion. And through the music, you're going to be able to understand the emotion and potentially relate it to what you went through and understand it even more by giving a tangible thought and a tangible explanation to the emotions that you felt during that time.
Definitely. But, Put Your Head Back is a song that's really about getting back on your feet. It's supposed to kind of uplift people and get people thinking in a positive light and moving forward, and just putting the crap behind them.
Interesting, because when I went through, of course, whenever I go through a song and I deep dive into it, one thing I always try and figure out first is what the meaning of the song is, and the reason I do that is because I always want to go through what the meaning is, then figure out how, because of course instrumentals, they're going to really play off on the emotion of what that meaning is to really see how that flows together and how the vocals flow together. The lyrics always end up being like the first and last thing I listen to. Is like, first I want to get the meaning, last I want to see how they're presented. But I got a little bit of a similar yet different take on that. Instead of just, kind of like putting your head back and just focusing on the positive things, I thought it takes a look at following your heart instead of kind of the norms and the pressures of society. By saying put your head back in your heart, the band seems to be saying that put your focus back on the things that you're passionate about and not chasing things that other people want or would want you to chase.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's true too. I think that it can kind of be taken as multiple different meanings, and if Steve were here, I'm sure that he would agree with you on that. He probably put together most, if not all, the lyrics for this one, and I'm pretty sure that that's kind of what he was going for.
But in the end, that's really the beauty of music, because, like I said, we basically, at the core of our meanings of these songs that we took and interpreted, they're the same at the core. But the difference is when we get a little bit more specific on them. So that's where we can see, where these songs, where the song has the workings of that same meaning. But it could also be just due to the fact that, like I've said this plenty of times, we've all gone through different things in life. We've all experienced many different things to get to where we are now. So of course, when we're listening to songs, we're going to relate them to more of what we went through versus what someone else had went through. So the core of that meaning is going to be the same, but the specifics are going to be different. Where the specifics are going to be different for me is because back in 2017, I got out of college. I'm like, oh yeah, the world's on my shoulder. This is great. And then as time went on, I'm like, this is life. Just going to work and like a that 8-hour job. Yeah. You're just going home, watching Netflix and doing it all over. And like, it was boring as all hell. And it was like, well, that's what society kind of wants you to do. And I'm like, you know what? Screw that, because I don't want to do that. And now
I went through a similar process, man. I went through a similar process, like just getting out of like college and doing a couple of different temp jobs and trying to figure out what I want to do and get a quote unquote regular job. And it was when I was in between jobs that I kind of made a shift and I just said, well, why I just want to do what I want to do. I'm going to, things started to pick up with music stuff, and I just said, I'm going to just fill my whole schedule with this. I'm not going to stop until all my schedule is just filled up with the things that make me happy and the things that I'm passionate about. So, that's when I decided to kind of go my own route, and it was, I could never be happier. I'll never go back, And
I have to agree with the same thing as well, because this is the thing that I enjoy doing the most, is sitting down, recording a podcast with as many different artists as I possibly can, getting to talk about music, getting to talk about the meaning of the music, the emotion behind it, life, whatever it might be. Because I just connect with music in a much more powerful way than I think a good amount of people do. Or maybe I'm just a little bit more vocal about it, because I know a lot of people connect with music in an incredibly powerful way. But if I was just still doing that, like that 9 to 5, just consistent, basically living life by the numbers style, I wouldn't be here anymore. I would probably I would have left here a long time ago, just because happiness was gone
after a while, man.
Happiness was completely gone. I mean, I had other things happen to me in 2017 that add on to it, but that ended up being, as I look back at it, that was the biggest driver of what caused depression, different suicidal tendencies, and attempts at times, which I'm not afraid to say anymore, which is actually kind of liberating that I'm not afraid to say that anymore. But it's just looking back, it's like, I'm happy that I'm not focused in on that anymore, because it's just not for me. So why would I focus on societal pressures to, okay, you've got to work this 9 to 5 job that's going to give you some benefits. You're going to end up moving to the suburbs. You're going to get married, have a few kids, buy some stuff, retire, move to Florida, and die. Like, literally has like how the Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, and I really do think that a lot of our songs, even Living Like This, definitely has kind of a connection to Put Your Head Back in a way. In fact, it actually, if you see the video, it begins with the TV on the head, and him taking the TV off. That's kind of him liberating himself from that, So I think both of those videos do deal with not giving into the pressures of society. I definitely think that's true.
Now, I also want to make this thing clear, too, where the reason why we're talking about this, and it seems like we might be bashing, that very stereotypical lifestyle, is just because we don't necessarily fit into that archetype. If you fit in that
Right.
archetype and it makes you absolutely happy to follow that, by all means
Absolutely.
do it. We're totally for it because that's what's
Yeah,
making
we're
you
not
happy.
knocking anybody.
We're not
Yeah.
knocking anybody. We're just knocking the fact that we were going through that and we didn't like it. And because we didn't like it, we were forced to make a change in order to make sure that we ended up being as happy as possible in this life.
It's as simple as do what makes you happy, and whatever it is that makes you happy, do it.
It was literally putting my head back instead of just putting my head back on my head. It was putting my head back in my heart. See what I did there?
Right. Yeah.
So I want to dive a little bit more into Put Your Head Back, especially with the instrumentals, because I did do a full breakdown of them. And of course, the intro of the song, I felt like it had this like electronic, deeper sound, kind of leading the chorus. And I like the beat of the drum to kind of like start drumming up some excitement to the song. And there's a quick little higher pitch, like 80s alternative guitar style to create more of the transitional piece out of this intro going into the verses. I was like, ooh, that's some saucy stuff. Just to really create this more flowing song from where the verses were going to or the intro chorus kind of build it up, then going into the verses. So it kind of had this nice little feel to it where one thing I'm always big on songs is energy transfer because each part of the song is going to have a different feel to it. And there's sometimes where all of a sudden you can be going super fast paced at something, all of a sudden you go super melodic or you slow things up. I would like to see how that energy is transferred because sometimes it's not well done. Sometimes I think it is. This was one where I thought it was.
Right. Yeah, I do want to mention something sonically about it. So the intro sound that we used in the very beginning of the song was something that we used in another song that we were writing that was in its early stages, and it turned out that we didn't like the song as a whole. We kind of had to throw it away. And I'm like, but that sound is so cool. We got to we got to use it for something. And I was like really upset. 'Cause I'm like, dude, like that sound, like it grabs you, I don't even know exactly what you would call the sound. It almost sounds like a distorted vocal sample or like a vocal and synth hybrid sample kind of thing. And, when Steve, came to me with a new song idea. He put that song at the I think he actually at the end, after the fact, put that sound at the beginning, and it worked. It just so happened that it worked perfectly. It was in the same key and everything, and I was really happy about that. So, I think it's definitely in today's age, you have to grab people right away, and that was something that I thought grabbed me right away when I heard it. So, hopefully, other people feel the same.
For myself, again, with much more of a background in some of the like more harder, more visceral stuff, just in terms of music, it wasn't that grabbed me right away too. And I totally understand where you're coming from because with the way music is consumed by consumers through different streaming services, it is like you have to grab them within the first 10 seconds of the song. Otherwise, if you don't, they're just going to go to something else and they're going to forget about your band forever. Does it absolutely suck in my mind? Of course, because then you're going to miss out on a lot of great music
I still like the fact that there used to be 12-minute ballads and with an epic guitar with maybe 3 different guitar solos in it or something, like back in the day, like Bohemian Rhapsodies or Stairway to Heavens or Freebirds or whatever you want to call it. But
because
not how it is anymore.
Bohemian Rhapsody would not be a popular song if it was released today. I'm not afraid to say that, and it's because the way that it starts out. I mean, it's soft. It has more of this like breathy operatic feel to it, and with a lot of the way that stuff is, it's not going to catch you right away. The thing that's going to end up catching you is that guitar solo at the end of the second part, and then the operatic third part of the song with "I see a little silhouette of a man."
Right.
I mean, that's what's going to grab you, but it takes a while to get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, not everybody has the patience. I feel like as time goes on, people's attention spans just get less and less. It's just the way it is, I think.
It's not like that, but it's just the amount of choices that we have because if it doesn't satisfy us, right away, we're going to end up being able to go back to something that we know we like. Like if all of a sudden, if I was like that, okay, I'm going to listen to a song. If it doesn't grab me in the first 10 seconds, I can easily just go back and start listening to like Rise Against or Ice Nine Kills again and enjoy it every second. But there are bands where I've listened to where, of course, I go on Spotify or something, click on one song and I start listening like after a minute, I'm like, this might not necessarily be the thing for me. But one thing I've learned for myself is never listen to just one song. Listen to a couple more because you never know what might happen. That's how I got into Motionless in White. Listen to one song, I'm like, this is interesting, but I'm not necessarily sure about it. And all of a sudden I listened to Eternally Yours and I was hooked. I'm like, okay, I'm in. That's what happens. Of course, I get it. You want to make sure you get the most for, like, if you're streaming, you want to make sure you get what you like. But don't just listen to the first 10 seconds. I get the
You know,
fact that
I was watching something the other day about how I don't remember who it was, and I'm not knocking them for it, but someone had like an album that had songs that were, I think the entire album might have been 12 tracks, but the album was only 5 minutes long. And the reason why they did it was just so they could get more plays, on their stuff. And I think it's like, it might be a trend that some artists are doing. And I was like, it to me, I found it kind of a little bit sad, to do that of a choice just to get the plays more. It's almost like movies. They don't want a movie that's even if the movie needed to be 3 hours or 4 hours, they wouldn't do that because it's not as much of a turnaround. They wouldn't get as many ticket sales, or they wouldn't get as many much money at the box office.
Yeah, so. And I think it's this perceived investment as well, because people just don't want to invest the money or invest the time anymore to watch them stuff. And I think, again, it's a lot to do with the fact that we have so many different choices and so many different options that we can go to. Because, I mean, hell, look at Netflix, for example. If I start watching a movie and the first 10 minutes of it, I'm not feeling it, or if I like the first 10 minutes, but I don't have another 3 hours to go through something, but I have an hour and a half, but I don't want to stop the movie, I'm going to go to something else that's going to be an hour and 20 minutes long, but might not necessarily be anywhere as good due to the fact that the story might be cut completely short because they're trying to fit into a specific runtime just because they want to fit in that specific runtime because they want to get the most amount of people watching or enjoying the movie as much as possible.
Right.
And again, same thing goes with songs as well. And a lot of the reasons why bands are starting to release less albums and you're getting more EPs and a lot more singles instead, because again, it's if you release a whole album, people are going to listen, like, streaming wise, there's a lot of people that are going to listen to like 1 or 2 songs, and that's it. And there's going
to and that's what we did. I mean, that's the reason why we put out nothing but singles for a while before we actually, compiled them together and put them on an album. But we also wanted to give a few tracks, give a little bit of an incentive for people to get it, because there's songs on there that they haven't heard also.
And that's also one of the biggest reasons why I'm big on people, actually buying music and not just streaming it, because now you're actually making an investment in that music. You're actually putting money down on this music. Not only does it support the artist, but it gives you a little bit of a mindset to where, okay, I'm going to have to listen to this whole entire thing because I want to get the most of my money out for it. So I want to listen to it all. And there might be tracks where, if you look on streaming services, look on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever it might be, you're going to look at like streams of those tracks. They might not be nearly the highest streamed tracks that Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon has, but they might be your favorites because you just connect them in a different way. And if you hadn't put in that investment of that time, of that money in there, you would have just wrote them off and just said, nah, and you would have potentially missed out on one of your favorite tracks of all time. It can easily happen that way. And that's, again, why I'm big on not only buying music to support the artist, but also it helps you make an investment into it. So you listen to it and you work to appreciate it. Of course, you're not going to always get things that you like, but you're going to find out that there are certain songs that, you could potentially have missed because they weren't popular enough. And you find out
I feel like it's a dying breed of people, though. Like I have friends who are big music connoisseurs, and they don't listen to songs; they listen to albums. It's just what they do. But I just feel like there's a lot less of that now. There's not many of those people left.
No, there isn't, and it does make sense why you guys release more singles from this album as well, because you guys are not looking at the way you wish things were. You're looking at the way things are.
Yes.
And that's always.
But we try to do a little bit of both. I think at the end of the day, it's cool to put this stuff on an album, and to kind of make it like a journey and a story and something that works cohesively. And I think it worked out the way it was supposed to.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think I had like the Spotify numbers pull up by the time we were recording this. I mean, your monthly stream count I think was just over 26,000, which is, taking a look at numbers I've seen. Of course, you're not at that, like Bring Me the Horizon 8 million level.
Sure.
But this is going to be your first LP. You never know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, you might catch fire with some, and all of a sudden, those streaming numbers are going to go up and up and up. And then the key is going to be getting them up there and keeping them up there so that you don't dip down. It just kind of you start slowly growing it, and you get that long-term growth. Or you never know, you can release one song that's just an absolute smash, and then you're like Dogecoin to the moon.
Yeah. I mean, we had a little, not an issue, but it was a little bit of a thing where we're just like, oh man, because we had to pull all these singles, because we were releasing the album, we had to pull all the singles that were going to be on the album off our Spotify playlist. Off of our Spotify account, and then takes it off of all the playlists that they were put on. So I don't know what's going to happen when those singles come, when the album comes and it's put on Spotify. I don't know if those songs are going to repopulate the playlists and, still have the same number of plays again, or do we have to start all over? But either way, it is what it is, and it's how it goes. It's how it goes when you're on a label too. But we're happy we're doing it this way. But hopefully, either way, no matter what, it will make a difference. If enough people listen to it and like it.
See, I don't know exactly how Spotify works in that, but what I have seen from artists is when they release singles and then they release the full album, that they keep the singles that were released on Spotify as well. So
right.
You're going to end up having those songs on, more than once on different Spotify discographies. But the fact of the matter is then you're not losing out on those plays that you built up, because I do think that if you remove those downloads, even if you re-upload the same thing, but you put it under a different, section, put it under a different album, put it under a different thing in the discography section, it does end up just kind of resetting itself.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen. It might still, they might have just wanted to pull it just so, just so that it's more of anticipated, the album. And people aren't able to listen to them now until they actually get released, and maybe they'll still be in both a single category and on the thing. I don't know honestly how it's going to work until it happens, but
we'll find out what happens. But because I got to ask then, is it your decision to do that, or is it the label's decision, or a combination of the both?
It's not really our decision. It's more so probably the label, and I think it's the only way. I think it's the only way that we could put it out through them, because we're doing distribution through Warner, and I just think that's how the way they operate. I think in order for it to go through them, that's just how it works, I guess.
Okay, not bashing Warner on anything in this, because there might be a concept behind it where all of a sudden when they do that, what might end up happening is you might be removed. Like, there's songs that are on those playlists right now might be removed, but then when they go back, they might go back on those playlists and end up higher up on the listing because they are essentially brand new. I think you'll end up losing your streaming numbers off of that and your record numbers off that. I have no idea, but I just think that might be the way it is from what I've heard. But it might work out due to the fact that now those songs might be repopulated on those playlists, but up on a much higher position right up front because of the fact that they will have the recently released moniker to them.
Right. I mean, we're going to be putting out a strong campaign, with the album too. So either way, I'm not too worried. I'm pretty excited for the release.
That's a good way to be about it, is instead of having more of that worried, more of that anxiety part of it, just be a little bit excited about it on the more prevalent front, due to the fact that this is your debut album. This is going to be what you're going to put out to the world. So enjoy it as much as possible, because you never know what might happen. I mean, like I said, you might end up having a song on there that all of a sudden gets put on all these different playlists. All of a sudden, you do a campaign for it. All of a sudden, different radio stations pick it up. All of a sudden, it starts popping off on all these different places. And next thing you know, you're taking a look at the numbers for streaming one day, and monthly streams might be, we're at like 30,000 this day. You're looking at the next day, and all of a sudden, it's like, how did we get up from 30 to 120 in one day?
Right. Yeah. You never know, really. We're excited though. We're excited.
I mean, I would hope so, because, like I said, it's your debut. It's like you only get to release your debut with a band one time.
That's right. Yeah. It's weird. It doesn't really feel like a debut, but it's technically it is, because it's it's the first that we're putting out through the label. So
I'd say you can always look at it like this way too, where you can look at it as the debut and the first one, because it'll add to the excitement, add to the whole entire lore behind it. But because you've released a number of singles already for it, you can also look at the we've already been here kind of thing. So you can take a look at both sides, whatever you're feeling that day. Yeah,
I just feel like, these songs have a new shot at getting heard by even more people. That's the way I'm seeing it,
And again, we'll see what happens. And then once touring end up returning as well, because I know you said your first show is looking like it's right around September. I think that's what you said.
Yes, yeah, like September 18th.
Okay, and that's in New York, correct?
Yeah, New York City. It's going to be at the Knitting Factory.
Weren't you guys supposed to play at the Knitting Factory right before the pandemic hit, or right as?
So it's the same show that got pushed back about 4 times. Yeah,
at least I did some.
Or 4 or 5 times, maybe. Yeah.
At least I did some good homework. I miss out watching music videos, but I did find out that. So, woo! Woo! I did something right.
Yeah, yeah. It actually, like, we had to make a judgment call maybe like 2 or 3 days before the show, and right after we decided not to do it, I mean, everything closed down. So then it got pushed back and back and back, and now it's September, but it's looking like we made the date by like 4 days after they're opening up New York. So it looks like we're gonna be able to keep this one.
Oh, thank God, because
Yeah.
then you're able to perform all these songs in front of people for the first time. You're able to start getting back on that tour run, and then who knows what might happen after that. You might go on an independent run just because that's what you guys want to do. Or also, you never know how this album's going to end up being perceived once it comes out. You never know who's going to end up listening to it. You never know who's going to pick it up. You never know what other artists are going to end up hearing this, to the point where, like what I said earlier, other artists that might be going on some bigger tours, they might end up picking you guys up to go out with them, like a Young the Giant, like a 30 Seconds to Mars. You might be able to end up you might be able to pick up on something like that, and all of a sudden, I've seen the crowd that those bands end up attracting. I mean, I've seen 30 Seconds to Mars play, 10,000, 20,000 people shows. I've seen Walk the Moon and Young the Giant play upwards of 5,000 people. And this is, I mean, I'm not talking about, for the overall tour. This is just one show. What happens if it's a 20-day thing and you're averaging 5,000 a night at these shows? That's going to be 100,000 people listening to your music and seeing it live. And you never know who else is going to be at those shows, who else it's going to influence, who they're going to end up telling. It could be something where all of a sudden, you're going to look at some of these tours. That could be one of those tours where all of a sudden you get on it, and next thing you know, might be on a tour with those bands again. But then instead of just being at the front end of the bill, now you're opening up for them right before they go on. And then after that, right, now you're the one that's headlining. You have other bands that you're bringing on as well. It could easily happen that way. You just never know where that momentum's going to go. But as that momentum picks up, just keep rolling with it like a snowball down a mountain.
Yeah, no, it's a roller coaster of a ride, but we're all ready. We're all ready. We're all really excited.
That's what I'm hoping to see, and hopefully you guys get like a date where you're gonna end up coming around my neck of the woods in Milwaukee at some point, because I would like to see what you guys do playing live, and just see what all happens. I got some people that I know would really like your style of music as well, so I'll be like, hey, come on down.
Right after we visit the cheese factory, we'll come to you.
Which cheese factory is the real question?
I went to years ago. I went to. It was in Milwaukee. It was like a famous cheese factory. I guess they're known for their cheese over there, and they had like cheese curds and stuff. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but I know that there's a cheese factory somewhere over there.
I'll say cheese factory that has cheese curds. Okay, that narrows it down from all of them to all of them.
Yeah. I even had a shirt from them from that place too. I gotta find it. I don't know. I'll get back to you on the name of that place though.
I'll say, because I'm kind of assuming all of a sudden that by the end of this podcast, by the time, later the evening that we're shooting it, all of a sudden I'm going to get like a message from you like, it was this place. I bought the shirt. Yeah. It's this one.
Yeah.
I'll say, well, then when
I said to you earlier, we do want to try to see if we can get on the bill at Summerfest. So I'm gonna try to reach out probably as soon as we're done with this and see if we can, if there's any shot that we could play in September.
Hopefully so. And for everyone that's listening, the day we're shooting this episode was the day the ground stage headliners for Summerfest here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin were announced. And of course, Summerfest normally happens late June, early July every single year. 2020, it was canceled due to the pandemic. 2021 was set for that date, but it got pushed back to the first 3 weekends in September. Little odd, but I'm totally for it because we're going to get music. And if Dan, you've got a connection there, because they announced the ground stage headline, but they have not announced any of the rest of the lineup at all, or any of the supporting acts or any of that. So if you guys got a connection there, just give them a shot, give it a call, because you never know what might happen. Because there might be a lot of bands that are trying to find a way to get out there that might have been on the bill for 2020 and earlier in 2021, but because of the date change, they might have had to drop out. So they might have some open spots. You never know. But if you put your name in there and you talk to your contact, something might come up where all of a sudden you get the offer to play, and you might be opening up for. I mean, I can't remember all the names of the ground stage headlines, but you might be opening up for someone that all of a sudden is going to draw a huge crowd. You never know. Yeah.
No, it's a great time. I played there years ago with one of my older bands, and I've been dying to get back ever since. It's supposed to be one of the largest festivals in the country.
In overall attendance, it definitely is, because of, I mean, normally it's spread out over 11 days.
Yeah.
So of course you're
Yeah.
gonna have a lot of people coming in and out over time. Of course, for like festivals that I would like end up going to more now, it's gonna be a lot shorter days, like 3 days. But I'm gonna be there for all 3 days because it's more of like the the rock fest, like camping kind of thing.
Right.
But of course, with Summerfest, I mean, there never is any camping because it's in downtown Milwaukee. And for me to get down there, I always end up taking the bus down there because, well, why would I drive down there if I can just take the bus and just have a free ride back? And we're
too many people.
Well, not that, but like if I take a bus back to like, because they always have busing at State Fair Park here in Wisconsin, because it's about maybe 4.5 miles inland. All of a sudden, I get off there. For me to walk home, it's just over a mile. Like I could be fine. I could just leave my car literally outside my house and just walk over. And like, okay, I'm going, hit the bus, wee, take the bus back, wee. Might stagger home a little bit like tipsier, but you know what? Worth it.
Yep. Yeah. No, I miss it. I totally want to go back.
Well, sir, I will make you this a promise when you come back to Milwaukee. Whether it is just on a random tour, random show, or whoever you're with, if you're going to be playing at the Rave, at X-Ray Arcade, Turner Hall, wherever it might be in Milwaukee, or if it's at Summerfest, because I always like to make this promise to the bands that I've enjoyed having on the podcast. So, Dan, this happens almost every single time. I think it actually has happened every single time. So here's my promise to you, because it is not an if. It is a when I get to see you and Don't Believe in Ghosts play for the first time. My offer to you is this, or my promise is this. First round's on me.
Okay. It's a deal.
Alrighty, it is a deal. So everybody, as we bring this podcast to a conclusion, one thing I do want to say is before we let Dan have the final word, final flow, is guys, the new album Solutions is out on May 14th. So by the time this podcast comes out, it is out there already. So here's what you can do. You can stream it on Spotify. You can stream it on any streaming service you want, have whatever it might be. Or you can go download it and help support Dan and help support the rest of the guys and Don't Believe in Ghosts. And you can also buy some merch too. There's a lot of ways to do this.
Yep.
And you can go listen to it right after we finish up here.
Yeah. Yeah, don'tbelievinghosts.com is pretty much a good home base for any of the other social networks you want to check out. Or don'tbelievinghosts.bandcamp.com is where you can order the album if you want a physical copy.
Anything else that you want to say to the people before we kind of bring this more to a close?
Just that we're excited to get out there and start playing some shows in person and stuff. And we appreciate all the support up to this point. That has allowed us to get to where we are right now. So we're really excited and for what the future holds, and it's not possible without you guys. So stay tuned, and we'll see you from the stage soon.
You'll stay tuned. We'll stay tuned. And now we're going to end with 3 things. 1, I usually do the second, but I already did this. So 1, remember, Dan, when you guys come to Milwaukee for the first time and I can see you play live, because it's a promise of not an if, it's a when. First round's on me. Remember that.
You got it.
Secondly, you guys just heard of where you guys can find Don't Believe in Ghosts. You found out where you can stream your album, where you can find out where you can download their album, get some merch. But I know what you're thinking. And we talked about incentives too. And also convenience. Why would you guys want to just go and search that stuff up when you can have like a one-stop shop with every single link you could possibly want somewhere? That's where I got you covered, because look at the description. You're going to find something that says Find Don't Believe in Ghosts online, and you're going to see their socials, all the links for those, their YouTube, where you can find them online, the Bandcamp link as well, where you can stream their music, so you can stream Solutions by Don't Believe in Ghosts. And I got all there for you, so you have no excuse not to. Follow the band. Watch your music videos. Stream their stuff. Buy some of their stuff. And just support them. And then when tours get back going and you guys get a chance to see them, I make it easy for you as well. Then you're following them already, so then you can start getting those updates. And all of a sudden you're going to see them start coming by an area near you. You're going to say, oh, shoot, Don't Believe in Ghosts is coming by me? I got to go to that show.
Awesome. Yeah, I could supply you with a song tree link too that has all the streaming services on there too. But your link's probably fine.
I'll put it this way. I can always find it. I can find the song tree link. Also, I'll just put everything in there. I'll be like down. This might be the biggest overall. Just okay, here's the links for this. But then for everybody that's listening, whatever streaming service you're using, whatever you're going through, honestly, I'm gonna have it there for you.
Sounds good. Appreciate the support, man.
You're very welcome, Dan. So, in all good conscience, I can end this podcast with a goodbye because, well, that seems like it's kind of like the final way of like, okay, we're done with this. I don't want to be done with this because, hell, I got a promise I got to keep to you, and I always keep my promises, or as they said in like Game of Thrones, I must repay my debts, or I always repay my debts. I never actually watched Game of Thrones.
Lannisters never, what is it? The Lannisters always pay their debts, or something like that.
When Sean Bean's character died, I was done. That was like the 6th episode.
I was still mad at it by the 8th season. I was like, I'm like, I can't believe they did that, man.
It's like, I know he always dies in the movies, but you had to kill him off that early? So it's not going to be anything like we're going to end it like that. No, because I got to keep my promise. I always got to repay my debts. And I want to make sure that, at some point in the future, Dan, you can come back on the podcast. I'd love to have you on another time. And next time, we'll bring Steve on as well, and we'll have a blast.
Yeah, we'll have more of us, yeah.
Definitely more of us. So, Dan, again, I cannot end this podcast all good conscious goodbye. I have to end it with what I always end it with. See you later.
See you later.
Whoa, well, folks, this is my review with Dan from the band Don't Believe in Ghosts. Again, their debut album, Solutions, is available at this given moment. So please, please, please go give them a listen if you like that indie pop, indie rock, alternative rock style. Again, if you're fans of bands like Walk the Moon, Young the Giant, and especially the last 2 albums of 30 Seconds to Mars, you will definitely enjoy this one. Why do you think I'm wearing the Walk on Water 30 Seconds to Mars t-shirt right now for this? Yes, of course, I planned it. And make sure you get a chance to see them live if they come to by you. They will be playing at Brooklyn Knitting Factory in the middle of September. So if you're in Brooklyn, New York, or anywhere in the New York area, go give them a shout out, go give them a listen, go give them some, of your concert going experience. And be sure to keep a lookout out for that Summerfest lineup as well, because yes, the ground stage headliners have been announced the day we shot this, but also remember the fact that they did not announce anybody else. There's a whole 11 days, actually 9 days, I think this time. There's a whole 9 days of artists that still have yet to be announced that are going to be going on beforehand, and they could easily be on there as well. So please make sure you go give them a listen. Make sure you go listen to Solutions. Pick up some of their merch. Go support the band, and go support your local venues and your local scene as well, because with concerts come back, they deserve the fact that we're going to support them. So go support them. Go give us a like. Go give us a follow. Go give us a subscribe to this podcast. Again, if you're watching YouTube or listening to Spotify podcast or iHeartRadio, man, I'm messing this one up. But on that note, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, which MC Rocks for Rock and Will Thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of them. The big, healthy, and hearty. See ya. Yeah.